Welcome back to SoulNet. We are continuing our Soul Sister interviews. I'm Megan and I'm here with Islena. And today we have Dayna in the hot seat. Get ready.
Thanks, ladies. Really excited to be here with you today, as always, and also to share a little bit of my both personal and professional history with our listeners today.
So, Dayna,
yes,
you've shared with us your journeys of single parenthood. How do you feel that single parenthood has given you an advantage in terms of your competency, your learnings, and how you focus and prioritize and make choices?
So I think one of the biggest lessons that we learn when we do things on our own is resiliency on ourselves, and this can go in the bigger scheme of things about, conscious parenting and being with our children through all of these stages of growth. And even down to the simple things of, if there's something laying on the stairs that needs to get cleaned up or something that needs to get done around the house and that kind of things, it's like no one else is going to do it. And so you learn to take responsibility for all of these parts of our own lives and those things that we're raising our children through. I think one of the hardest things in that recognition too is that sometimes we have to let go of things. I shared that I was raised in a very traditional household with my father working, and mother also contributed in the business aspect, but she was the hands-on one raising us. So she was driving us to our activities and showing up for those things, as well as taking care of all the household things. And I remember feeling like because I couldn't do everything, that I was somehow lazy or I was not good enough in that because I couldn't raise a child, run a household, run a business. The pressures of us now to do these things is far greater. We used to, a traditional home, you would diversify the chores and the duties. Whereas when you're on your own, again, there's nobody else to do it. I learned that instead of calling myself nasty names for not being able to do everything, I learned to let go of some of that stuff, and for me, that's I keep a tidy home. I love to cook, so I cook from home all the time. But maybe some of the bigger chores that aren't really in my wheel well around like home improvement stuff don't get done as often.
Yeah. In your letting go journey, you've also shared with us a little bit of your journey in your health and wellness with alopecia and autoimmune illness healing. How did that journey inform your parenting and also the parenting of yourself, your self-care?
I had to slow down. I tried to do it all. I wanted to prove the competitive pitta nature of me that is, also very driven and very focused. I wanted to prove that I could. Just because I was on my own didn't mean anything. There was no limitations. And turns out there actually was limitations, and those limitations came in the way of my health. So the recognition that I needed to slow down, I needed to change, I needed to not put the things that I wanted to achieve on hold forever, but I needed to prioritize what was important. And for me, my business, obviously, we need to make a living, and I love what I do. And I'm so grateful to have found a career that serves me. It also served raising a child very well. I could choose to drop my son off at school every day. I could work the hours during the middle of the day. I could pick him up from school every day, and we'd come home and we'd have snack time together. And in his early years, I'd pack him up and he'd come to the gym with me for my evening clients.
Amazing.
We'd come home and have dinner and then, traditional kind of bedtime. So the work really served that in me, which was beautiful. And it was one of the things that I wanted to preserve from my upbringing. It was a choice for me because there was aspects of growth for my work that I didn't do because of these choices. But being there for him is something I will never have any regrets on. They were choices to be with him and to be a parent and as good a parent as I could possibly be as my primary role here versus the job that I do and the service that I do there.
Mm-hmm. I just want to do a little bow to all the single parents out there. We see you and we love you.
Yes.
Thanks, Meg, for that lovely acknowledgement. And let's also acknowledge our soul sister, Islena, as well, who has raised 2 boys, double the trouble on her own.
Oh, soul sisters, thank you for that validation. That feels good in my system. Single parents unite.
So we've talked about you as a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just talk about what sports you played in high school and as a young adult that led you into that career path? Give us a little backgrounder on your athletic side. And then was there a lesson from those days that you still carry with you?
Okay, so how much time do we have?
Oh my God, not
I played
much.
a lot of sports. There's a lot. I played pretty much most things, I think, in high school growing up, but my primary sports would have been skiing. I grew up competitive ski racing from the time I was like wee little. And then volleyball would have been the second one that I have played well into my adulthood, and competed in the Masters games a number of years ago for Beach Twos. The 2 that have hung with me, again, skiing, I don't do as much anymore. And I think it's an interesting lesson for a lot of us. It was that are raising children as well. I don't want to sound ungrateful because I had such great opportunity. My dad built his like Austrian chalet in Whistler when we were young, before Whistler was anything like it is now. And so we grew up going to Whistler every weekend. It was really great in some ways. And then I'm out in the mountains, I'm learning this skill and I'm with my family. But I also had some resentment because every weekend I was packed up to go to Whistler and I had other interests, other sports and stuff. And so I didn't play club volleyball like I wanted to and these things. And so I know victim, but young Dayna was a bit resentful about that because she wanted to do all of the things. I raced until I was about 16 and then I decided I was going to do my instructors, and I taught kids up there actually for about 6 years at Whistler. That actually was what kind of led me into personal training down the road. I left skiing behind. I married someone that wasn't a skier as well. And I was burnt out. That was kind of why I'd gotten into teaching. I found that every weekend was skiing. Every weekend was like, where was the fun? Where was the playtime for me? And so I was like, teaching was a total break from that. I was making some money. I was still having fun on the mountain, but it didn't feel as like obligatory to me for some reason. And then I got married and kind of left skiing behind. And I think I'd had some of this resentment around it, like we often go through when we play a sport. I think especially as young kids. And I watched my son go through some of that during COVID after he came out of, he'd played basketball on a provincial level and then all the way through to his, 5 years of collegiate, and then came home in COVID. And it was like, he didn't even want to touch a basketball, let alone like play, really. Sometimes when we play at these high levels, it can take some of the joy out of it for us. And we often time out for a little bit. So skiing was a bit like that for me. But to come full circle with it, I was selling advertising for a newspaper. I was kind of in a regular everyday job, and I had an opportunity. My son was 2 at the time, and we moved over to Victoria for a year. And so I'd quit my job with the paper, and I was like, okay, what do I want to do with my life? So I, played with my son. I got to be that like full-time mom for about 6 months, which is amazing. And then this reflection of what do I want to do when I grow up? And I kept coming back to what was the best, most fulfilling job I'd ever had. And actually it was teaching skiing, and it was the coaching. It was the movement. It was about nature. And it was so joyous. I just loved it so much. And so I signed up for a course, and it was a basic, exercise physiology. I never thought I'd have the science part of human kinetics and kinesiology in me. I didn't really think I thrived in high school. I recognized that was more effort than anything, but I didn't think I was that smart. And I signed up for this course, and everything just made sense. It was just like, this is home, and this is home. This is where I'm supposed to be.
Wow. So you were listening, you were receiving the call too, and you were
chasing joy.
Young. You were chasing joy.
Yeah.
And prioritizing joy and finding a way to work with that.
Absolutely.
That is such a powerful message for young people.
Well, it's taking the reflective time and the gift of like what that time was to go, okay, like what really makes me happy? And where were those periods of my life where I felt that? And then using that as the stepping stone and then seeing what would show up. Right.
That's a really cool full circle. Yeah.
Well, and now I'm fortunate enough to still be able to ski with my dad. My dad, the out of balance pitta, he also is a very he's a very loving man, and I do cherish like those times together that he and I have, which are often on the ski hill. It's taken a long time to come full circle in a lot of ways. I think part of that is healing some of those teenage years too, because I had those years that I was kind of divided between Whistler and Vancouver. I felt like I was kind of, living in two worlds as we often do.
I love hearing how, as an adult, you now get to meet your dad where he's at and he meets you where you're at. And adult to adult, you have this connection now with this life choice that your father brought to your family that you now chose again on your own. That it connects you to your father is so beautiful for me to see while he's living, having my father pass to the next realm a long time ago. I love seeing people that are close to me, my friends, be able to connect with their parents while still living before they make that transition that we will all be facing. Yeah.
I completely agree wholeheartedly. And it's, I will say that for anyone that, is, because it is some of the hard things as we're going through our inner child stuff, it's really easy to have these resentments towards them and even really hard to like be around them. I remember like there was a few moments of family time and I was like, oh, I'd feel so triggered coming out of it. It is hard, but if you keep going, you do get to a place. It also required me to set new boundaries with him that I'd never set before. And that actually was where things really started to come around as far as that relationship. And, now I'm able to, I see his little boy. He grew up in post-war Austria. He witnessed some things that no child should ever have to see as a young boy. And I see him so clearly now, and I'm able to meet him like we often talk about with compassion. So it's like I see his suffering and I meet it with love, and there's our compassion piece. And doesn't mean he doesn't trigger me sometimes, but it really has, changed the whole relationship.
Wow, that's so powerful.
Dayna, that's so beautiful. Wow.
So I'd like to ask too that given your experience as an athlete, when did you decide to sort of elevate your game and explore Ayurveda? And can you tell us a little bit about Ayurveda?
Thank you so much for asking, Megan. This is my new passion. And I think really in the grand scheme of things, this is the bigger purpose of what I am here to do. And it was never just about the body. It was about integration of the body and the soul. So Ayurveda is an ancient wisdom. It predates to about 3000 BC. And its interpretation in Sanskrit would be the wisdom of life. And it provides a playbook, if you will, for what it is like to live this human existence here in our bodies, our minds, and our spirits, and how through understanding our individual constitutions, or doshas, as we call it in Ayurveda, we can begin to understand how to live a more balanced life that allows us to feel more contentment, more joy, more happiness within ourselves, and also feel more connected to others and the world around us.
What was the point at which you were like, I want to welcome this into my life. I want to do this. I want to offer this to my clients. Was there a moment in time where you were exposed to it and wanted to know more about it?
So as with most of us, I think there's a personal aspect to it that was involved in it. And that came through some of my own struggles with illness. And, they started as a physical manifestation to me. And as the alopecia and the acceptance around just the physical self and hair loss happened, I found myself in amongst a mental health journey. I mean, the wounds were far deeper than just the loss of the hair on my head. It was about how I felt as a woman, how I felt as like a being showing up in the world. So I'd always taken care of, my physical self through movement and through nutrition. I'd adopted some practices. I'd tried some meditation. I'd always had a very all-encompassing approach to my work, and that I always met people where they were. I've worked with, athletes and celebrities and everyday people of all kind of ages and stages. And I was very good about meeting them where they were at in the physical sense. And then when I started to have these layers that kind of came off and discovered that it wasn't just about what I was doing physically. What else was I doing to care for my mind? And meditation, I dabbled in it. I did a lot of guided, didn't really have an anchored practice. I think I would absolutely say movement was my meditation for a lot of years. And then all of a sudden it was really clear that that wasn't cutting it anymore, that more moving was actually just stirring up more and more inside me. And it was really easy to ignore some of the emotional pieces. As powerful as movement is as a tool of moving things, if we move too much, we don't give space for the other stuff to come out. So I recognized that these tools were no longer working for me. And not only in my own life, but I was wondering why I had, clients that were, maybe they had the perfect body, but they were miserable on the inside and they were struggling with anxieties or other things that weren't being addressed. I had this realization within myself that this industry that I'd been so passionate about for so long and had served me so well over the years was too much about science and not enough about soul.
Wow.
And so it started me searching for some other courses. And so I looked a lot. I looked at a lot of different more somatic things. I was like, do I want to change modalities kind of altogether? Do I want to go back to another bigger program? And it was actually my chiropractor, who's absolutely one of my sages in my life as well. She's like, what's going on? You kind of feels like you're a bit flat. And I was like, yeah, I'm not sure what direction to go. And she actually directed me to a site, one that I'd looked on my own. And it's like I hadn't seen it before. And it was the Chopra site, the Chopra Center, which is down in Carlsbad, California, who was started by Deepak Chopra and David Simon. And it's all about, wellness, Ayurvedic, meditation, yoga. And they had a program on there that was a 1-year program. And it was late at night for me. I'm usually a really early bird, but it was probably around like 9:30 at night. And I was on my computer and I saw the program and I was like, that's it. So that whole, like, when you've hit the heart hit, it's like, sign me up and sign me up now. That was kind of what led me down to Ayurveda.
So good. Oh my gosh. It's almost like you have a new tagline. Like, instead of working out, we're going to work in. We're going to work in.
Thank you, Megan. Great one.
That is a good one.
I'd say movement as part one was a total intuitive call for me, and I trusted it. And then the Chopra journey into the Ayurvedic lifestyle piece was a total, like, book it, pay the money. I'm in. I'm not even going to think about it anymore. I know this is the right way, and I'm going to trust that. And it was such a gift. It was, I think, Megan, you shared as well that you were, it was a pandemic journey for you. And I remember being with my classmates in Chopra too, when the pandemic hit. We were about 6 months into the course. And so we were just like, oh my gosh, can you believe the timing of what we're learning to share with others? Because there has never been a more poignant time, or I'm sure there has been in history. And there's the ages of consciousness that have happened, but there hasn't been one for a while here, of a very poignant time for us to be learning these skills and sharing them with the world, because we know that this world is not very healthy in a lot of ways.
I notice you bring such a huge, compassionate, loving presence towards your clients from your own health challenge journey. Like, I see the transference there. You bring such a lovingness to your clients and a genuine care that is felt just from your own pain and suffering that a lot of people trainers in the health sciences don't have that come through as strongly as I see it coming through you.
Thank you, Islena. Yeah, I definitely do. I care about, I empathy through and through, right? Sometimes to a fault in my earlier days of or understanding how to filter that, and how to be, not a solid container, but actually a flowing container for my clients, I think was, been really important. But I just, again, I try and show up and meet people where they're at. And I do think that all of our own individual journeys and whatever, the pain and the suffering that we go through really does help us show up as, better friends, better coaches, better guides, whatever it's better therapists, whatever we're kind of looking at. If we can move through it, we can be better. If we resist it, then, we stay in our egos, and maybe not so much so, but thank you for noting that though, Islena.
I call it as I see it, girlfriend. What legacy would you love to leave for your clients and for your child, in the sense of everything that you've experienced up until now makes you the kind of trainer and coach that you are? So what do you feel is having you have itchy feet to keep sharing that is so important because of your own experiences for your clients and for your family?
So I feel like so firmly how important things like movement, things like nature, things like, eating healthy foods as much as we can are about cultivating our inner garden. And when we take care of these somewhat simple things and our physiology is in balance, we give room for not only our own more balanced body and mind, we give room for expanded spiritual discoveries. We give room for feeling and accessing more love, more joy, and more compassion, because we have a balanced state of being. So these reminders, be it ancient wisdom or modern wisdom, it is just reinforcing ancient wisdom, in my opinion, provide all of the tools for us to live a healthier, more vital way of being. And if I can contribute to part of that and that legacy piece of how do we stop some of the suffering that is happening on a mass scale? We start with ourselves, and we start with educating in a compassionate way of people and sharing what we know. And again, if it's one person that lights up, or as a byproduct, I have a son who is a meditator. I have a friend or a son who, as a young man, can actually hold space very well and has learned to communicate his feelings, which is kind of, not the way a lot of men were brought up previously. So these actions that, again, start from home, and then my clients are the next step of it. And then, of course, us being here in our little, SoulNet space is that expansion of that. My reach starts with me, and then my immediate family and my friends. And now, we're sharing that with the world. And hopefully we have less pain, less suffering, more compassion, more love, more kindness.
Dayna, thank you for sharing. Oh my gosh. I feel like I know you so well, and now I feel like I know you even better. Oh, what a gift. So we're going to keep on moving. Don't stop now. Keep on moving. We're going to go to our soul to soul rapid fire questions for our soul sister, Dayna. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
We're going to go from slow to speeding it up. Okay. Ready? Sports bra or lacy and racy, baby?
Both.
Oh, yeah, girl.
It all depends on the moment. How about a sports bra and a lace thong?
Ooh, love
it. Okay. Your favorite way to decompress?
Movement in nature.
Yes, I feel you. What song best describes you?
Girl on Fire.
Yes, Alicia. Shout out to the queen. Oh, yeah. I feel your fire, baby.
I also feel like it resembles my Phoenix process that I have been through far more times than I care to recount.
Yes. Oh, gosh. That's such a good visual, too. The Phoenix rising, girl on fire. Onward we go. Which book do you own that is dog-eared or bookmarked the most?
Women Who Run with Wolves.
Oh my God, I love that. That was mine. That was mine too.
It's been highlighted and folded over and read and reread. It's a Bible. What can I say?
Maybe that's what brought us together. Women Who Run with Wolves. One of the,
So good.
it's one of my treasured. And Islena too, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Final soul to soul question. What is one sentence you would say to your younger self?
Trust yourself.
Amen, sister.
A woman.
A woman. Thanks, Islena.
Yeah, a woman. A woman. Oh my gosh, that's so good.
This girl is on fire.
Fire. Woo! This girl is on fire. Okay, that just wraps up our episode interviewing our soul sister, Dayna Bango. We love you.
Thank you, Dayna, for your light and for who you are. We love you.
Love you guys. Thank you so much for holding space and just inquiring.
And up next for our conclusion of the Soul Sister interview series is our very own Islena Faircrest. Until then, take care, SoulNet.
Thanks for listening into SoulNet, everybody. If you liked what you heard here today on the podcast, please follow, like, and share. If you have topics you'd like us to cover here on the net, email us at soulnetsisters@gmail.com.